Hello, Greg. How are you?
Lilia, I'm very well, thanks.
Thanks for joining us in this session. It's amazing to have someone like you, which we'll see. The audience will learn from you and hear what you're doing, how you're transforming wellness overall throughout the coaching you provide. So today, the topic is would be elevating mental wellness, personalized coaching, practical mindfulness, and exploring the overall role on technology or AI within the space. So, welcome, Greg, and please help us introduce yourself, share with us your personal background, and why you're passionate about coaching.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's great to be here with you, Lilia. This is a topic for me that I'm very, very passionate about and have been for a number of years. I got into wellness, gosh, it was probably about 2008. This is kind of when I first started my journey into this through my own mental health struggles. So, through unmanaged stress that I wasn't fully aware of, I experienced some depression and some anxiety. And this was an experience I hadn't been familiar with in my life. And it kind of just showed up at my doorstep, so to speak, unannounced. And it was a really, really challenging time for me. And naturally, I wanted to understand what was happening with me and I wanted to feel better. I had lost the joy. I had lost, my social connections, just feeling anxious in a number of different aspects of my life. And that was really an odd experience for me and very uncomfortable. So that prompted me to really kind of take a path towards greater well-being in mind and body. And I'm a very curious person by nature, so I naturally started to kind of ask questions within myself and started to explore external resources to try to figure things out and to be well. So naturally, I went to my doctor and I went to see a naturopath and I started to read and I found yoga and I found meditation, and all of these things kind of got me on my path towards healing and feeling better. So, as I started that journey into some of these practices and learning more about various wellness modalities, I started to shift in how I was feeling. And I started to find a little more lightness, a little less stress, a little less anxiety. And it prompted me to want to continue and deepen into some of these practices. So that really got me going. And at the time, I was in a sales job, which it turns out it wasn't the right role for me, but it was a wonderful experience. Um, but I stayed in that position for a number of years as I was kind of going through this process, and I knew, fairly early on in this process that I was going to be transitioning out of sales and into wellness. And specifically the practices of meditation and yoga. These were two of my kind of foundational practices that had really supported my path. And I became quite passionate about the practices and integrating them and just continuing on this path to feeling better. And as I did that, I was like, man, I need to bring this out into the world some way. I need to somehow take these practices and share them. So that got me thinking about um, other options. Teaching. Uh, the practice of coaching came to mind. I've always had a coaching mentality, so to speak. Having been in competitive athletics my whole life and had done some coaching prior to my sales job, I thought, geez, what a great way to bring these practices to other people through a coaching practice. So that kind of took me down that path of starting my own coaching business, and I ended up quitting my sales job and starting my own coaching business, and it's gone kind of naturally from there.
So, I think this change you had and like this common or popular phrase, it is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. And you touched upon, like, you saw the light, and it feels like getting into coaching, mentoring created meaning in what you were doing. You found that versus the role you were doing before sales. How is this experience for you? How do you feel when you're coaching and mentoring?
Yeah, it's that was a natural evolution just as I evolved and healed and started to feel better in mind and body. Um, it's a deep learning process, and I uncovered a lot about myself, which is a natural part of this. And a lot of stuff that I didn't realize was kind of buried deep within me, and some stuff that needed to be dealt with. And by dealt with, I mean just healed and kind of transformed. So I started to understand more about myself, and in turn, that allowed me to understand those around me. We're all human, and we all have this really expansive lived experience. Some of it is really, really amazing and enjoyable and pleasurable, and some of it is really, really challenging. And this is really what it means to be human. So as I started to learn about myself, I started to understand that, we're all having this experience, and we all have struggles. And, we haven't been given the skills or taught the skills and how to deal with challenging situations, how to manage difficult emotions, how to really feel what we're feeling. And I was no different than the vast majority of people in not understanding this. So that was a real eye opener for me as I started to understand that within myself, that boy, like, this is really meaningful stuff, being human and understanding ourselves on a deeper level. And we're not here for very long. Life goes by fast. We all know this. Um, so we have one life to live. And I certainly found meaning in trying to help myself become the best person that I could be and really be on this planet in a meaningful way and enjoy life. I really wanted to help others do the same. So that meaningfulness really started to show up for me. And that's really why I started my coaching business, is that, what I wanted to help people be well in mind, body, and spirit, and to help navigate through life in a more skillful way, and to work with some of the challenges and all of that. It's very, very expansive experience being human. So I wanted to share that with people through my coaching practice.
Amazing. So thanks for sharing your insights and how this full journey came into play. And I know we discussed before, like, what you've been doing, and then the IOSM portion, like science behind mindfulness. What are the implications from a practical perspective beyond, like, spiritual and all of these new agey perceptions? So wanted to touch upon that, like, how do you find this connection and why science might be really relevant on how we work around mindfulness and all of this?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think when I was starting on this path, I really wanted to understand what mindfulness was and how it all worked. So what were the benefits, and how was this changing my mind, my brain, my body? So I really dug into understanding the science behind it. And the last, gosh, 3 or 4 decades, there's been a really robust body of research that's been done on mindfulness across so many different physical, mental, emotional um, markers, if you will, or areas, mental health conditions, well-being, cognitive abilities. So I really started to explore this really deep area of research with respect to mindfulness. And I was really blown away at the capabilities that we all have within us when we start to practice paying attention and being in the present moment and starting to self-regulate our mind and our body, the impact that it has on our brains and how it really translates into how we can think differently and what our behaviors are. So making change. So this was really, really interesting to me, and from the moment I started this path up until now, and I think it will always be this way for me. I will always be really, really fascinated by the possibilities with science and mindfulness, which really got me into this corporate training aspect of my practice. So really exploring mindfulness-based interventions to develop mental emotional capacities for specific outcomes. So in the workplace, we all have things that we have to manage and deal with. And this is a practice that we can bring on board to train various parts of our brain and change the brain and the function of the brain to support various aspects of things that we do in the workplace. So whether it's distraction and working with attention control and focus, which is a huge thing obviously in this day and age, the pace at which the world is moving and the work world and our work experience, there's a lot of things that we're having to navigate through and manage. So we can find ourselves sometimes distracted. So working with attention and focus is a major thing for being more present with what we do and effective with what we do in our work. So
Uh,
there are specific practices that you can apply in that specific area for an outcome based on gaining greater attention and focus.
And as you've mentioned, awareness is your superpower, right? Like that's something that we really have to think of. It's something that lives within us. It's there. It's just how we can um, know to bring it through mindful practices and create these type of exercises that will help us and guide us to be more present and to be aware of our surroundings and how we develop within our workspace or even in our personal daily lives. Great. So I know you discussed this and you have had lots of hands-on um, workshops in a workplace. So would you be open to help us go through like an interactive guided mindfulness exercise so our listeners can obviously learn and see how these can come together and help them be more mindful?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the practice is really foundational to this, and it's a really nice concept, and I think most people get what mindfulness is when you start to explain it. But it's really the practice itself that you start to gain the benefits from it. So be happy to do that, and there's many ways to practice, both formally in meditation and informally. Just throughout our day, being more present with what we're doing and connecting to just the comings and goings of everyday living. You can definitely do it that way as well. But really, where I start with a lot of my clients is just starting small with practice. So I hear this a lot with people. Gosh, I don't have time, or sitting down in meditation for 20 minutes. It just seems daunting. It seems like I don't have time for this, or it seems a bit overwhelming. So I encourage people when they start out with the practice to just start small, and it can be literally a minute of just focusing on the breath coming in and out of the body. This is one of the core practices of mindfulness meditation is really bringing attention to our breathing process and just bringing our attention to it and noticing when the mind wanders, which it will, and then just gently bringing attention back to that focus on breath, right? That's a really basic, simple move, but you'll see it's a challenge because we haven't trained this skill or this ability. So I thought we would do this for like a minute or so. I could just take you through a basic practice. Maybe we'll go a little longer than a minute, but I'm just going to ask you to focus your attention on where you feel the breath coming in and out of the body. So it could be your belly, it could be your chest, it could be maybe in your nose that you're feeling it, or maybe through the back of the throat. And all you're going to do is just bring your attention to that area
Hmm.
and just try to maintain awareness of the breath in that spot. And when your mind wanders, you can gently bring it back. So you can do this eyes open or closed. I encourage eyes closed just to take the visual stimuli out of play. So if you want to do that right now, just
Let's try it. Okay.
gently close your eyes, and you can relax your shoulders down. And let all the muscles in your face relax and soften. And all I'm going to ask you to do again is to take your attention and just see if you can notice where you feel the breath moving in your body. You don't have to do anything special to the breath or change it in any way, but just notice where you feel it. And
Mostly
see.
my chest, I feel.
Yeah, so see if you can just keep your awareness in that area and just let the breath move naturally. And if the mind jumps in, which there's a decent chance that it already has come in, it has thoughts about most things, whether it's related to this exercise or not, just notice when the mind kind of distracts you. And see if you can just gently come back to that area where you feel the breath moving in the chest. And then just taking a couple slower, deeper in and exhales. And you can let the eyes gently open.
It's
So now,
amazing how you feel like this, I don't know, connection. And in my perspective, the thing I experience right now, it's peace, like getting in sync. And maybe just when you disconnect from everything, it does feel quite different. Like it's, as you say, just doing it for a minute or two, it can create like a reset in your body, in your mind, to get moving, get going, and be more present. Probably with stress as well, right? Like I feel the stress feels kind of out of your body, out of the way, which is a really awesome way to.
yeah, without a doubt, it's not a very long. That wasn't a very long practice, but like you say, we're so in our heads, right, for the majority of our days, and we have to be thinking and making decisions and strategizing and doing the things that we do. But quite often we do get disconnected from our bodies, and this is a real nice way to reconnect with your body through paying attention to your breath. And it does give the body a break, and you'll notice the shoulders just naturally relax down, and the muscles in the face relax, and the belly softens, and it's a reprieve from the busyness that's happening externally and internally. So
Yes. Yeah, constantly we're like just racing and going through like the motions and what's next and busy lives, as you mentioned. So I think it's a great way to get some time. And as you said, we can say there's not enough time in my day, but it can be probably geared or customized towards everyone's needs. And probably you can let us know more, like how is that coaching experience like with you? What can someone expect, right? Because this is just like a quick short exercise, but I'm sure there's more to it, and probably you can fill us in on how it is like.
yeah, gosh, each of us is different, right? Everybody comes to something like coaching with a different life experience. So I think that's the interesting thing for me, is that I have to kind of have a customized approach, when I work with clients. And there's different struggles, different challenges. So I think a couple of core things that anybody that works with me can experience, and that is just the sense of care. I think it starts there with having a caring attitude, and that in turn allows for trust to be developed. And in any coaching, mentoring role, that is kind of fundamental to the process, right? If you don't feel comfortable with somebody, then there's a really good chance that you're not going to be able to open up or feel comfortable opening up. And that's a big part of this, is starting to explore and be a little bit vulnerable with some of the things that you're working with in your life. So I think care and trust is that's a couple of my strengths, is just developing that space or holding that space for clients to feel that. Um, I really, I'm not one to say this is what you should do. I'm not an advice giver type coach. Um, it's more with my coaching about teaching people about the practice of mindfulness, and then giving them the tools on how to practice, showing them how to do it, and then letting them explore with the practice to understand what they need to do in their life. Maybe what needs more attention, what needs healing, what choices do they need to make, different behavioral shifts. It's not for me to know, it's for my client to understand, right? So I give them the tools and hold the space for them to explore that. I ask a lot of questions, and I think that's the best um, process for all of us, is to find our own way, because only we know our lives. Only we know truly what's happening within us and around us. So the space and the practices and the tools I give, and it's really up to the client to explore that. And I encourage it, and I support it, and I celebrate the wins with my clients. I think it's really important to do that. Um, because it's not a linear process, right? Like, personal growth it's very nonlinear, and it's sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and then it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? So it's up and down, it's all over the place, and it's challenging. But I think if you create the right setting and you have the right energy, and you give people the tools and the practices and the strategies to explore, in my experience, um, people really find their own way. And that's really what I do.
And I guess life is constantly changing, and that comes into play with the full um, idea of people rediscovering, rewiring themselves, because you are trying to probably focus, make changes, and develop along time. But things keep moving, life is ongoing, and probably that's why like it cannot be linear, as you mentioned. So I totally agree with the approach and how things evolve. And as you say, it's always up to an individual to progress, to develop, to grow in all aspects. So you have the tools, you have the like you're the support in place, but it's always like a personal thing that is within ourselves to make the decisions, to move ahead, to stay afloat. So I totally
Absolutely. I found,
agree.
and I don't know if you've experienced this in your life, with how things have unfolded for you, but I know for me, and I think for a lot of people, it's like you don't make change until you're really pushed to the edge. And by that, I mean, things are so uncomfortable that you realize that you can't go on the way you're going on.
Hmm.
You
Yes.
can't living the way you're living. Something needs to give. And typically it's discomfort in some form, be it a physical ailment, mental health, be it a relationship breakup, something happens, anything externally that really, really shakes us and makes us
Hmm.
say, wait a second, like, it's gotta change here. That's what I've found. It seems to be a motivator for most.
Yes, I agree. As you said, from my personal experiences, I have found change coming, and when things are getting into a limit or something that really it's above and beyond what I am able to handle, let's say, I feel that's when change needs to happen, and support in place is also really valuable. And in this era, like in the last couple of years, and I feel especially after pandemic, we have really focused more on this mindfulness, on doing the best for ourselves. So maybe those silver linings I find from the COVID and pandemic situation was that I feel the world has changed, evolved, and we're looking to become a better version of ourselves and have the supporting networks and tools in place to really keep afloat, to evolve, to be okay and feel good with ourselves, right? So
I agree. I agree with that fully. Yeah.
thanks for sharing and also with the approach and the support you provide. Thank you, Greg. And one other thing that I would like to think or like talk to you about that is really relevant. We all hear about technology, about AI. So, how do you feel overall? What is your perspective, your vision on, okay, I might be able to support my practice? It can be like from your daily work to do your job and streamline your processes and be there for your patients, or from like tools that you share with patients. It can be either. How do you feel technology's role comes into play for you, like as a coaching and mentor?
Yeah, I am just scratching the surface with this whole AI thing, and um, in the little that I've experienced, I have been really blown away at the capacity, um, in terms of just being more efficient and the possibilities. It really is kind of mind blowing to me to think of all the things that it can do and do so quickly. Um, I think the element of coaching, that personal one-on-one piece, I think will always be so important, not losing that connection. But I think in terms of processes and just day-to-day operations of my business, and I'm not going to be able to give you specifics because I haven't really explored it, but I can see how, um, just coming up with certain things for my website, like just writing various um, reviews or testimonials, or um, things that I know for me take a little bit longer to think and to get down onto paper or onto a document, like um, that can be done really, really quickly with AI and what it can do. And so I'm not going to be able to give you a really in-depth answer on this, but I do see possibilities. I think it's more from a processes standpoint and just getting administrative stuff done and using it that way to help streamline. So it does free up time to do the things that are core to my business, which are obviously working with individuals. So
Great. Yeah, I think along your like the lines, I feel the same way. I know AI is here and it's a tool. It's here to serve us, but it's just a tool in place to really support you and for you to focus on what you do best and then help you with other things that are part of your daily life, operating your business, or even in there's other places in a personal life we can use AI. But obviously, like the core of who is Greg, what you do, the coaching you provide, as you mentioned, it has to be tailored and geared towards every individual. So the value we have as human beings overall cannot be replaced at this point in time. I would say, like, confidently, there's no way, right?
right.
So thank you, thanks, Greg, for providing us your point of view of how it plays into your world. And well, we're coming up to the end, but I just want to make sure you have, if you have anything additional highlights or things you want to share. If not, we can obviously discuss what are your programs, upcoming programs you want to share with the audience here, and to know with you reviewed or you mentioned like you do different um, types of coaching. So I know like performance, like from an athletic perspective, it's something that you really have focused throughout your career. So if you want to really touch on something specific or these ones, and then any upcoming programs you have, please feel free to let us know.
Yeah, so my coaching practice really is divided up into three buckets, so to speak, three areas of focus, and we touched on the corporate aspect of things. So bringing mindfulness-based interventions into the workplace, a workplace setting, and that is through IOSM, which is the Institute for uh, uh, Science and Mindfulness. Yeah, Institute for Science and Mindfulness. It's a mouthful. So I have three offerings through from the corporate aspect. So I have an organizational mindfulness program, which is 12 hours of live or interactive training that can be online or brought into a work setting. It can be divided up into, two half-day workshops. You can take the modules, which there are 8 modules in this organizational mindfulness course. You can do them kind of 90 minutes a time, 8 separate sessions, if you will. You can really customize it depending on the needs of the organization, and it really speaks to various aspects of developing mental emotional capacities. Again, as I mentioned, be it emotional intelligence, managing stress and anxiety, mental strength, resilience. All these things are all tied into this organizational mindfulness program. The other 2 offerings from the corporate side of things are neuro leadership. So again, similar 12 hours of live interactive trainings based more towards trainings on developing the brain for greater leadership. And then the third offering is neural well-being and performance. So looking more specifically towards well-being and how it relates to performance. The second bucket is my personal wellness coaching, which is more one-on-one coaching. So again, mindfulness-based interventions, working one-on-one online mostly to help people deal with whatever challenge they're working with. And then the third one is athletic performance. I do have a fairly extensive athletic background in playing high-level sports and coaching. So it was a natural for me to bring mindfulness into the performance piece from an athletic perspective. So I did, it's called MPEAK, which is a program out in UCSD out in San Diego that I got certified in 2021. And it's a specific program for high-level athletes. It can be really any level of performance, but for me, this lands in the area of athletics. So working one-on-one, working with teams, delivering the MPEAK program, which helps really athletes be at their very best. So those are my 3 areas of focus with my coaching. And yeah, I have in terms of the wellness, I have coming up. I don't have it together yet, but it will be shortly. Various wellness theme-based coaching workshops. So this is in the works right now. That will be coming out in the coming months. But in addition to the one-on-one, there's going to be a group dynamic that I'll be offering for people to sign up. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Thank you. Thanks, Greg, for sharing all your insights, the information that is relevant for the audience, and as well your upcoming webinars or online courses and things that you have really highlighted at the end of the podcast will be available here at the bottom with all the links to your website and how people can contact you. If they have any questions, they can reach out, and as well to follow you through social media. So we'll be sharing all of this with the audience, and all the best, Greg. Thanks for your time. And I'm sure with this mindfulness in place, our lives will improve.
thank you so much, Lilia. It's been a wonderful experience being with you, and love the conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.